This is PWF Empire Live.
It's the best thing going today.
The best insight and analysis on the hottest topics in the world of wrestling happens here. From storylines and news to rumors and reviews, we've got the action covered from bell to bell. Presented by PWFempire.com with your hosts,
Steven,
Evan Medina, and J-Dub.
do I have everybody's attention now?
The match starts now.
PWF Empire is live. Thank you all for tuning in this Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I am Jay, and I am joined by an ensemble panel tonight. We have my good buddy here, Steven, or Steven, shall I say.
Yeah, it's getting old now. We gotta change that.
And also from the PWTR Raw post show, which, interestingly enough, you can catch every Monday post-Raw on PWFempire.com, Dalton.
What's up, everybody? PWF Empire is live, and it's an early birthday present to me. I get to be on the show, a full show.
I don't know. We'll see about that.
Don't jinx me now.
You've been here for what, a little more than 60 seconds now. We'll see how this thing goes, you know. So yeah, happy early birthday to you, Dalton. This is your birth week, and hopefully you have a great birthday, and hopefully this, you know, adds to that greatness. Got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. Hopefully it adds up to a great show for the listeners and the viewers of the PWF Empire. And speaking of the Empire, I'm representing for the Empress tonight. The 2015 PWF Empire Wrestler of the Year, Sasha Banks, the same artist that drew that. He did the design for this shirt, so I'm representing for him too. I think his name is Rob Schamberger or something like that. I probably butchered his name, but if you're watching, you know who you are. You're awesome. Thanks. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. We are going to be talking about the Wyatt family. It seems as if those guys are being built up for something bigger to come in the future. But before they get to where they are going, could they pick up a passenger along the road to WrestleMania? Who knows? But we'll be answering that question tonight, or at least answering the question if we want to see that. We'll be talking about Lucha Underground and the road to WrestleMania and the detour that may head to Suplex City, and that's where we're going to get started right here, right now. Dean Ambrose went out to the ring during a segment featuring Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, and he pretty much called out the Beast incarnate. He said he couldn't wait to be taken to Suplex City because that doesn't necessarily mean that he will be defeated. He's going to rise up, the Iron Man of WWE, and he's going to drag his broken and beaten down carcass to the main event of WrestleMania. This was pretty interesting, WWE going this route on Monday Night Raw to give us an actual story between Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar. So I'm wondering, what are you all thinking about where we're standing right now with what happened in this last episode of Monday Night Raw?
Well, Dean Ambrose has officially joined the Brock Lesnar Shield crew, because the other two have had interactions and feuds and matches with Lesnar, and it was starting to feel like Ambrose is just the odd man out. Now all he has to do is win the title, and he won't actually be like the weakest link in the Shield.
We're pushing it now. We're pushing it.
Yeah, I thought this was actually really cool, though, because it's something new. We've never seen Ambrose and Lesnar really interact, and I really like it. Especially I like the promo Ambrose gave on the, you guessed it, YouTube channel, which is very good. Where he goes. This is something that I wish they would do on the show, is talk about strategies, you know, and like matchups. Because in that interview he talks about like how exactly he plans on beating Lesnar, which is he just plans to out-endure him and wait for all his injuries to catch up with him.
Does that include the... well, I guess it doesn't. Diverticulitis, he already kicked that. But this is an interesting situation, isn't it? Because I think it was Steven here that favorited my tweet on Twitter yesterday. This is the first sign of lunacy I've seen in Dean Ambrose, and it's a pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a very subtle form, because it's not like him going loony. It's just him doing something very not in his best interest. It's very irrational.
It's very
Yeah, it's like
bold.
something that a normal person and the way in which their brain is, set up to think with logic and common sense that I don't want to get my head bitten off. So I'm not going to go confront that guy. Yeah, so it's kind of weird that out of all of these little weird faces and crazy little movements and stuff that Dean Ambrose does, and the way that the announcers try to force this whole lunatic fringe thing, that was the first moment where it felt natural. And it also felt a little surreal too, because believe it or not, I am a fan of Dean Ambrose, and just to see him be booked on the level to where he could be in the ring standing face to face with Brock Lesnar, that felt really good, and it felt different too. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's almost like Dean Ambrose could be a main eventer if they tried.
It's funny how that works out, I see, at least in that moment, I saw the same thing that I saw in Seth Rollins when he stood up to Brock Lesnar during that episode of Raw when they were trying to cover for the snowstorm that happened. He's being bold, he's being confident, and to me, it's not so much being a lunatic so much as it is being a badass. And it's a legitimate badass, and it's not forced upon us. It feels very organic, and I'm really interested to see where this goes, because now you've got somebody else in the main event scene who is definitely going to get a good reaction and could really shake some things up.
They got to be careful with this though, because what they're doing is they're teasing us. They're giving us an alternative to Roman Reigns that we might just really want. Because they did it once at the Royal Rumble when they had him go up against Triple H, and they made us think for 1 second that Ambrose might actually come out as the champion. And now they're making us think that he might go to WrestleMania, which we all know he's not going to. But when you're trying to book Roman Reigns as your guy, this is something you don't want to be doing. So it's kind of a risky move on their part to put Ambrose in this.
You're treading
they are
shaky
walking
waters.
a very fine line. Yep, I was just about to say they're walking a very fine line here, because there's a certain balance that you have to strike here to where we're going to introduce Dean Ambrose into the story, and we're going to do just enough with Dean Ambrose to kind of take away the air of inevitability that's surrounding Roman Reigns right now, because one word that I keep hearing being thrown out there is predictable. This stuff going on with Roman Reigns, him leading into a match with Triple H at WrestleMania, is not going to work because it's predictable. I will say this. I believe that unpredictability is severely overrated, because it's not about how predictable or unpredictable something is, at least as far as I'm concerned.
No,
It's
I
all
agree
about
with that.
Yeah, it's all about what you do to make people become invested in the journey. Because if I was to sit here a few years ago leading into WrestleMania 30, and I screamed about how predictable it was that Daniel Bryan was going to beat Triple H, and how predictable it was that he was going to go on to the main event and defeat Randy Orton and
Batista.
Yeah, it was Batista. See, I didn't even need to know who his opponents were, because it was so known that Daniel Bryan was going to go in and win that match. But as wrestling fans, we turned that part of our brains off, because WWE told a story where we felt like this had to happen. And even if I am anticipating it happening, I'm still going to turn that part of my brain off and enjoy the ride. So it's not about them giving you something that's unpredictable. It's all about them giving you a story that you are able to invest in. And if you can't do that with what's going on with Roman Reigns right now, that's the problem, not the simple fact that he's going to win. But I do like what they're doing, and at least adding some meat to the story to make it seem as if Dean Ambrose has a chance.
Yeah, well, we all know he's only in this match to take the fall, because otherwise Lesnar would have to take the fall, and that's not going to happen. Although he might actually. I guess there's still opportunity for that to happen, but I'm pretty sure Ambrose is only here to take the fall for Reigns. And if that's the case, that could easily backfire, because Ambrose is going to be the favorite in that match, I guarantee you.
You've kind of positioned Reigns, and it's not really WWE's fault, but it's also kind of is. You've positioned Reigns in a spot where you've kind of set him up for failure, because the crowd, we know about the crowd. The crowd's going to be hectic as all hell, and Lesnar usually gets cheered. Ambrose absolutely gets cheered, and if you have Ambrose take the pin, regardless if Roman Reigns looks strong and looks good, it still isn't going to be looked at the right way. And that's not so much WWE's fault so much as it is the fans hijacking the show. I really feel like what's happened here, though, is it's a good thing we're not relying just on Lesnar for his namesake, and we're actually elevating Ambrose organically. And it's funny what happens when you do that, isn't it?
I'm still holding out hope that after WrestleMania, Ambrose will get his main event heel push. I think it's going to happen this summer.
No, it can't happen. No. Unless Roman Reigns goes heel too. Like, Ambrose is now canon in WWE.
What, you mean like as like a relationship? Is that
a friendship? They're friends.
I don't know too many friends that combine their names like that.
They're called the Brothers in Arms, which is actually a really cool name. Michael Cole.
Here's the thing, and I was talking with Charlie about this. Yeah, I do like that name, Brothers in Arms. I was talking with Charlie about this. Like, there's so many inconsistencies that come along with Roman Reigns, to where, like, you never know if you're gonna get the badass one week or the bitch next week. Like, is he gonna be crying in the ring? Do they want us to get sympathy for the guy, or is he gonna go postal and start beating ass all over the place? You never know what you're gonna get with Roman Reigns, except for one thing. You know, there are a few things that are constant in life: death, taxes, and friendship between Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose. That's the only thing that you know you're going to get out of Roman Reigns every damn week. This guy is Dean Ambrose's friend. If you take that away from me, what do I have left? What? Nothing.
Well, it's not like Reigns is Ambrose's friend. It's like Ambrose is Reigns' friend, because you notice Ambrose is always helping him out, but when Ambrose needs help, Reigns is nowhere to be seen. Like when Triple H is fighting Ambrose, Reigns isn't there to help him. But the next night on SmackDown,
here's the thing.
He's helping him.
Like, I know at the Royal Rumble, it would have been selfish of Dean Ambrose to expect Roman Reigns to help him out in that moment, because Roman Reigns had his own personal struggles to deal with.
I mean, okay, that's fair enough, but still.
That's not a friendship if you expect, him to forget about that and, focus all of his attention on you.
Even if we ignored that Royal Rumble incident, there's plenty of incidents we've seen on Monday Night Raw where Ambrose is getting mollywopped and Reigns is nowhere to be found. Look at Monday Night Raw. I mean, albeit the way it was shot was poor, but Reigns and Kofi are down. Ambrose gets F5'd, and maybe they're gonna play the narrative that Reigns, why haven't you been helping me? We're part of the family. We're part of the brotherhood, the Brothers in Arms, and that brotherhood's not being reciprocated, at least not visually, on Reigns' behalf. So there's a narrative they could play there for a subtle change in Ambrose.
Okay, I have two things to close out on this topic of discussion. One, I'm not ready to forfeit the whole Roman Reigns thing going into Fastlane, because we were in a pretty similar situation last year when people were like, oh, well, WWE, they're giving us options. It could be Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania, and WWE stuck to their guns. They had Roman Reigns go in there and beat his ass. They had Roman Reigns pin him, and I appreciated the fact that they stuck to their guns on that one.
And they'll do that the same thing here. Go ahead.
And secondly, I'll say I didn't like that ending of Raw. It felt kind of weak to me. Yeah, that whole Brock Lesnar. I like the god of violent retribution, Brock Lesnar, not the, oh, you challenged me, so I'm going to one-up you, Brock. Like, I wanted him to be a little bit more pissed off and violent.
Well, why would he be so pissed off? It's not like anyone did anything.
Ambrose challenged him. I'll be damned if, you're the baddest man on the freaking planet and you walk into my face.
And he F5'd him. There you go.
I wanted him to be more, like, I wanted Paul Heyman to hold him back. Like, I know they had the little talking at the beginning of the show when Paul Heyman was talking him down, saying, don't play into it. He's trying to play you and things. Don't fall for it.
Yeah, but
I wanted to see Brock Lesnar less smiley and more,
But if he does that every time,
it's awesome.
Yeah, but it kind of loses its appeal, because it's not like nobody fucked him over, so he doesn't have a reason to be that violent.
Does Brock ever need a reason to be violent?
No, but not that violent, because if you have him the same level of violence when he gets fucked over and when someone just challenges him, then it doesn't really make sense. You have a case like when Rollins fucks him over and then he doesn't do much about it, but this case, Ambrose just I mean, came out, and Brock really doesn't take this guy seriously, so I don't know why he would.
Well,
Unload
hey,
him.
maybe. I mean, maybe.
I think we'll see what you're
Maybe
asking
that's it.
for. I mean, how many weeks do we have for the Fastlane?
Not 2 or 3.
Yeah, so
I think it's on.
I think we'll see him be more violent.
Right, onward and upward. We are going to move on now to buy or sell. And our first topic for buy or sell is going to be the season 2 premiere of Lucha Underground. Before we actually get into the buy or sell portion, I just want to deliver a quick summary of the first episode of Lucha Underground, or at the very least, the big storyline that's going on in the company. Season 2 premiere of Lucha Underground. The overarching story for this season is that Lucha Underground has fallen into its very own age of darkness. Following the events of Ultima Lucha, the proprietor of Lucha Underground, Dario Cueto, was run out of town, leaving a power vacuum in his wake. It was Katrina, the manager of the Lucha Underground champion Mil Muertes, who stepped in to fill the void. She wielded the power and the influence of the championship to take over and establish a new authority. One of her first orders of business was to attempt to cause friction between the trio of Son of Havoc, Angelico, and Ivelisse. They spent so much of last season struggling to work together after they were forced into a partnership, even though they all hated each other's guts. And just when they were on the same page and living in perfect harmony, they were booked in a triple threat match with the #1 contendership for the Lucha Underground Championship on the line. Ivelisse won the match, fought valiantly in the main event, but ultimately lost and was about to be eviscerated by the champion before we all saw light at the end of the tunnel in the form of a returning Pentagon Jr. and also the return of former Lucha Underground champion Prince Puma. So that is a setup and the overarching story for this season 2 of Lucha Underground. Dalton, I know you watched the season 2 premiere, and at this time I'm going to pose a question to you and everyone else who watched Lucha Underground. Do you buy or sell the season 2 premiere?
Unquestionably, it has to be a buy. Now, this is coming from somebody who is absolutely a fan of Lucha Underground, but I'm not the most familiar with the environment. You know, I've only caught intermittent seasons of season 1, but checked out the first episode of season 2 right before the show came on, and it was fantastic. You could definitely get the sense that it is a darker, more brooding kind of environment, you know, in the sense that Dario Cueto's not there and Katrina's running everything. And how great of it is it of her to pit the 3 people who worked so hard to get on the same page and to form some kind of bond. How great of her is it to put them against each other. And you could even see it in the match that they had. There was almost like the feeling that none of them really wanted to fight, but they know the ultimate goal is a shot at the championship down the road. And
also something that I didn't mention is the fact that they were all on the same page and ready to go after their shared goal of regaining the Trios Championships. And the Trios Championships, they happen to be held by a few more of Katrina's boys, the Disciples of Death. So it's kind of like she lured them away with one championship to get them away from another, which I thought was really cool.
It's like a giant game of cat and mouse, if you will. But it was so good. The matchup itself, it equally showed off all of their individual talents, and Ivelisse came off with the win, and that set up for a shoot. If that wasn't a David versus Goliath story, I don't know what was. When
that was more David versus Goliath than David versus Goliath.
Absolutely, it was Danielle versus Goliath. Is that appropriate? But her Ivelisse picking up the win here, showing off her talent, and then going to face Mil Muertes. It even for somebody like you know the obvious outcome, but the fans in attendance were chanting for Ivelisse. I was chanting for Ivelisse, and there was even a moment, a false finish. I think it was a roll-up? It had me on the edge of my seat, and I felt that this is so much a different product than the regular WWE product we get. And I understand that it's a different rating, and I understand that gender roles are what they are, but this product is great because it shows off the talents of both male and female, and it doesn't. Some of it does feel violent, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like I'm being insulted when I'm watching the product, and it's absolutely a wonderful thing. And I absolutely buy the feeling I'm getting out of the environment that this whole new season is taking in.
Yeah, I love the first season of Lucha Underground, and this second season they got kicked off on an amazing note. Like the cinematography that was displayed with the way that they shot their different scenes and things like that. The fact that the champion of Lucha Underground, he was basically sitting like on a throne. He was literally sitting on a throne watching over his quote unquote kingdom, and I thought that was so amazing. Just little things like that they do. It really brings you into the experience, and just overall it was a very great opener, and it set the tone very well, and I can't wait to see what happens next with Lucha Underground. I'm spending all my damn money. I'm buying the hell out of season 2 of Lucha Underground.
It's just absolutely fantastic.
Okay, next up we are going to move on to, this is actually a question that was submitted by a viewer of PWF Empire Live. I told him a few weeks ago that we were going to talk about it on the show, and finally we are going to talk about it right now. Let's go ahead and read the comment that he posted on PWFempire.com. In an attempt to press the fabled reset button on the Wyatt family, WWE is thinking about introducing the one person Bray Wyatt has been going on and on about ever since he debuted in 2013, Sister Abigail. What are your thoughts on this attempt to press the reset button? Is it a good move on WWE's part, or is it a case of too little too late? And if you think it is a good move, who do you think will be the perfect person to fill this Sister Abigail role, whether she's in WWE, NXT, or another promotion, and why would she be the perfect Sister Abigail? So, boiling everything down, we know this Sister Abigail figure Bray Wyatt has referenced frequently. His finisher is named after Sister Abigail. The buy or sell that I'm going to throw out there to the PWF Empire Live hosting panel and also the viewers: do you buy or sell Sister Abigail becoming an actual character on WWE TV?
Well, there's a few different things there. In terms of what you posed, I could buy that, but only if it's done correctly. I don't think you want to introduce Sister Abigail per se, because I think that's too much of a liability. Because I think the character could just go wrong. Like, you can't bring in someone to play a character like that anymore. Like, the only time they've ever done that, I think, was Kane, and that worked, but that was back then. It's hard to bring in someone and just have them be a previously referenced character. Because, eventually, something could happen. She could get fired. She could be released. She could...
just do it like they do it on the soap operas. Recast. Or
well,
maybe do like
a
plastic surgery story.
I was going to say, this is the only way I could see it working. Is if they do it where Bray Wyatt actually thinks that someone is Sister Abigail, or that they say that this is the sort of reincarnation or embodiment or possession of Sister Abigail. I feel like if you bring in a legit Sister Abigail, it just makes no sense, because supposedly she's a lot older. We're to the point where she was sort of the leader of their cult when he was a kid, so she couldn't be the age they want her to be. So I just feel like they would have to do it in a clever way like that. And as for who should play her, I have no idea.
To bring up, to piggyback off of Steven's point, I think it's a very honest criticism that he brings up, and honestly, I don't know where I stand on that point either, because I feel like even though we're supposed to believe that Sister Abigail is a real figure that once was part of Bray Wyatt's past, there's also that feeling that she's somewhat of a deity, of an ethereal nature, and we saw Bray Wyatt dealing with the supernatural when he was feuding with Undertaker and Kane, and that flopped. I mean, listen to the way you reacted. So I am just yuck, absolutely. I'm not, if that were to be true, if that were to be the spin that they put on it, I wouldn't buy that in the least. If they did play up the part that maybe Bray Wyatt has been imagining Sister Abigail to be his guiding light, to be, the leader of a cult that he formerly was a part of. Now, if they play like a psychotic, part to Wyatt's character, that I could get into. But as far as bringing in an actual person to play the role of Sister Abigail, there's too much of a liability there. Not to mention, she wouldn't be able to take part in any of the other spots that females play on the roster, and I feel like she'd be marginalized to only doing Wyatt attacks, and that to me doesn't leave a whole lot of room for progression.
Now, see if it was Lucha
Another
Underground, though.
I was
Another
gonna
thing is,
I was gonna say that this is the kind of thing that would work so well in Lucha Underground.
Man, I'm telling you, Bray Wyatt and Lucha Underground, I'm taking all of these damn pictures off the wall, and his face would be up there everywhere.
another thing is,
I can imagine.
the writer mentioned a reboot. Now they missed their opportunity to reboot Bray Wyatt because his opportunity was when they attacked Undertaker and Kane, and that didn't go anywhere. So I kind of feel like they missed that boat. That moment, to me, I know at the time I kind of said, well, he can recover from this, and then to an extent he did recover from it, but that was the moment where it solidified that Bray Wyatt is not like a huge force. He's just kind of a roadblock in the mid card. So as for like a big reset, I don't know if Sister Abigail can do that. Maybe they could do it like sort of an Undertaker urn type thing, where Sister Abigail gives him these powers, which I always thought Bray Wyatt should have. I always thought Bray Wyatt should be booked as sort of this final boss who has like these powers of no selling or just sort of over the top strength. I think that would have been cool if done correctly, but the boat has sailed on that for the most part, and we know that Bray Wyatt is just some guy. His cult is not any mythical thing. It's just it is what it is. So
You know what's so funny about this, Dalton? Like, just hearing Steven talk about that, doesn't it sound like he's describing Mil Muertes? Like in his relationship with Katrina?
Wow, absolutely. That's like
yeah,
on the nose.
But here's the thing when it comes to Sister Abigail for me. I have the perfect person to play Sister Abigail. Little Jimmy. Meaning that I don't ever want to fucking see her on WWE TV. You know that reaction that I had to that, all of that stuff going on with Bray Wyatt and the supernatural powers with the feud with The Undertaker, or the Wyatt family's feud with the Brothers of Destruction. That was a step too far for me, or a whole hell of a lot of steps too far for me. I like the mystique that surrounds Bray Wyatt. The fact that I have so many questions about him and I can't answer those questions, I appreciate that, because I think when they get to a point where they have this supernatural person, he kind of delves into like the cult-like mentality and things that may not be real or exist in what we know to be reality. It's better if we don't answer those questions and we let those things just exist. That way we can guess what Bray Wyatt is. That way we can guess, is Sister Abigail some kind of real person? Is Sister Abigail a deity? Is Sister Abigail like a split personality of Bray Wyatt that manifests itself in an imaginary friend? You know, I like the fact that we have those questions there, and I don't want an answer to those questions. Steven, you bring up an interesting point though, like having someone like a faux Sister Abigail, like someone come onto the scene and basically use that relationship that Bray Wyatt has with this being to kind of like manipulate him and things like that.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think Bray Wyatt should be manipulated by anyone. I think he should project it onto her. I think he should look at. I've always thought they need a girl in it. First of all, because cults are nothing without women. Like when you look at cults, they're often used as opportunities for the leader to get to be with all these women, and that's kind of what makes it so creepy. Like when you look at cults that have been around, there's always women involved. So when you have this all guy lumberjack cult, it's just it's more like a biker gang. It's just not. It loses the creep factor because there's no innocence involved. These guys don't look. Except for Eric Rowan, of course.
We don't know. Oh god. Do you know? Speaking of Eric Rowan, his wife actually was responding to this thread that we were going on Twitter, because Evan and a viewer of the show, they were trolling me about how humble Eric Rowan was and how he put over
this really happened.
his legit.
Are you telling me Eric Rowan's wife?
Yes,
Okay,
his
you're gonna
his
tell me what
his
happened.
real life wife was responding to like the troll stuff, and I was just sitting there like,
What
why
did
aren't
she
you guys
say?
rope her?
What did,
I'll pull it up because I don't have it like available to me quite yet. But his like legit wife, she was responding to the troll stuff. But
it's not
going on
troll.
what you were going on what you were saying about women being in cults and stuff. Like we don't know what Bray Wyatt's preferences are. Maybe he's exactly where he wants to be. So it is 2016.
I mean,
Some
okay,
people go for that. Some people go for that rugged look. You never know.
fair enough, but it still helps to. It still would help the group a lot. I mean, look what happened when they added, was it Serena to the Straight Edge Society?
Hmm.
That was, she was good, she was awesome.
I think it could
And
be an interesting dynamic, though, because it's almost like if you add a female force, especially one that Wyatt is compelled by, it almost seems like you're adding an essence of vulnerability to his character. Um, that
yeah,
could
that
be an
would be good.
interesting narrative.
Because before,
Oh.
all you had was the stupid rocking chair, which apparently was Sister Abigail's. So, and now he has a new rocking chair. I don't know if it's like a special one or if this one's just one he got at like IKEA or something. But like my idea was that you bring in a woman and he like somehow just sees Sister Abigail in her, and he says, "Hey man, you're gonna take the mantle of Sister Abigail, man." And he like just projects this this expectation onto her, and it's kind of like vague, like it's not really clear that if she Sister Abigail, or is she like the reincarnation, or is she just like some vague thing that would be part of it, like it would just be very ambiguous. Or
Hmm.
she could be like Sister Abigail could almost be like an office that like switches from person to person. I don't know. I just think
Okay.
that's how it would work best in my opinion.
Alrighty. I guess I'm not too. I don't know. I like some of the ideas that
Oh,
were
now you're
proposed
sold on it.
here. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Next up, we are going to move on to our double dose of divas. First up, we have the buy or sell segment featuring Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and everything that's going on with Team Bad. Thankfully, they've broken up, it seems. And Sasha Banks, she did state at the Royal Rumble that she was going to grasp that spotlight and she wasn't letting it go for anyone. Now, the issue that comes into play, I've firmly established, at least in my opinion, Becky Lynch is one of my favorite characters on WWE TV today. She's the best protagonist they have by a country mile. But with Sasha Banks stating that it is her spotlight, has Becky Lynch been edged out a bit? Is Sasha Banks succeeding at Becky Lynch's expense? I pose that question to you all. Buy or sell?
I don't think that's the case. I feel like Becky Lynch got her development, and yeah, she didn't win the feud, she didn't win the title, but as far as I'm concerned, they succeeded with Becky Lynch. They gave her a personality, she got over, and to me, that was a success. That's the biggest success you can ask for, especially because if she beats Charlotte, then you knocked off Charlotte before she was really done with her run. I mean, she just started picking up steam. So no, I don't think Becky Lynch is being spited at all here. I think she benefited tremendously from that feud, and now they're going with someone else. And hopefully they could do the same thing with Sasha, because up until now, Sasha has just been an afterthought. Like you said, she basically just debuted last week at the Royal
Mm-hmm.
Rumble.
I am going. Well, honestly, I can't buy this because I spent all of my money on Lucha Underground, so I'm going to have to sell it. Um, I would hope that WWE doesn't forget about Becky Lynch and doesn't look at her like, hey, the work is done. Because I hate that in WWE. They do this thing where they get someone to a certain point and they're like, woo, our work here is done. The work that goes into character development, that's an ever evolving process. The work never stops as far as I'm concerned. They did a great job with Becky Lynch, and I'm hoping that they saw enough in her with that run that she went on with Charlotte on the main roster that they don't push her to the side. And it's a very weird situation for me to be in, knowing how much I am a big fan of the Empress. Sasha Banks, I have the damn shirt. I have her up on the wall there. 2015 Wrestler of the Year for PWF Empire. A lot of stuff going in favor of me being a big fan of Sasha Banks. So it's kind of like a bittersweet moment for me to witness all of this stuff that's going on now. I just hope that they don't forget about Becky Lynch. But based off of some of the things that I'm seeing, it seems as if, I don't know, because like, is it necessary that like she has to take a step back just to make sure Sasha establishes herself? I don't know. Maybe we'll see what becomes of all of this when Sasha, affirms her place on the roster, and then if Becky Lynch finds her way back in the forefront, then I guess that'll be the real test there. But Dalton, you buy or sell Sasha Banks succeeding at Becky Lynch's expense?
It's a hard thing to buy, honestly, because anybody would want both Sasha and Becky to do really well on the main roster, especially since, for all intents and purposes, this is the first time Sasha Banks, the boss, has actually shown up on television.
Yep, she debuted at the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm.
That's the first time she debuted.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That was her debut date, absolutely. But at the same time, it feels like Becky Lynch is organically getting over. We're not pushing, because you could kind of argue that Sasha Banks is getting over just because of her namesake. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. But Becky Lynch, at least in my opinion, has been supported by some good face build on the main roster and being almost an underdog in the Charlotte story. So I honestly feel like Sasha Banks getting over and then taking Becky Lynch's place in this Divas title feud, it's a hard. I'm gonna have to say I buy it, but I'm really hopeful that this is just something we're looking at just in the immediate, because it would be a damn shame to have one of the horsewomen playing fourth fiddle.
Now that I'm thinking about it, like, it feels as if Becky Lynch's journey has not completed, and there's still a lot of story left to tell in her versus Charlotte. But maybe this isn't necessarily the end for her. Like, maybe she's going to be the one, because we're all thinking right now it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Maybe she's going to be the one that walks out with the title. Who knows? And it's weird that we're in this same position that we were in when Becky Lynch was in NXT, because I'm still mad that we didn't get the completion of that story. I'll be damned if they screw me 2 times giving me my Becky Lynch moment. Like, that can't happen. 3 of the 4 horsewomen had runs with the NXT Women's Championship, all but her. Like, come on now. Like,
the story almost writes itself.
Yeah, don't edge out my girl. Like, make sure she gets her nice little slice of the pie there. Okay. From one Divas segment to another, we saw on Monday Night Raw Brie Bella actually defeat the Divas champion Charlotte, and it seems as if Brie Bella may be angling towards a program with the Divas champion herself. If this is what we are going to get, Brie Bella versus Charlotte for the Divas championship, do you buy or sell this pairing?
The pairing of Sasha Banks and Becky?
No, Brie and Charlotte.
Okay, when you put it as a pairing, I get confused. I thought, okay. Well, it's weird, first of all, that Brie Bella is a face now, and it's weird that Nikki is a face now. I feel this whole...
You should be used to this by now.
This
they
whole division...
more than the Big Show.
The Big Show just turned again, didn't he? Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know why you said this is I don't think this is a thing. I think this is just a match that happened on Raw, I don't think this is going to be a thing. But I sell it if it is a thing, 'cause I don't want to see Brie Bella. She sucks. She's not good. She's
What's the state of WWE if somebody beats a damn champion and nothing becomes of it? Like, I don't
know. Why don't you ask what happened to Kevin Owens when he beat John Cena?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. He got his ass kicked 2 times in a row after that.
I mean, I think the most we get out of this is that Brie Bella gets like a championship match on Raw. Or they do it. Okay, they might add her in at Fastlane and then hold off the big match for WrestleMania. But yeah, I mean, I don't really see this as a thing. I kind of feel like it's still. I know Team Bad is involved with Sasha and Becky, but they didn't just drop Sasha and Charlotte, did they? Do you think that's what they did, or are they just waiting for that?
I honestly
I
feel
don't
like
know.
it's something they're holding off for. You mentioned that Team Bad's now involved with Becky and Sasha, but I don't want to see Brie anywhere near the title picture. But even Michael Cole, not that Michael Cole, what he says is gospel, but it says, now Brie's in contention for the title. I just find it really ironic that the sister of the person that said that wins losses, who cares, is now in contention for a title that you probably don't care to have.
Look, I still think you guys overblow that. She was a heel justifying her
No,
loss. Like, come on.
nope, I'm not buying it.
That was trash, bro.
Nope.
I honestly think it was fine. I mean, what else do you expect a heel to say when they lose? Anyway, um, yeah, I mean, I sell it if it's a thing. I just figured it was a match on Raw.
Knowing WWE, unfortunately, I expect them to follow up on this, and it's just more reason to kind of give some shade to Becky Lynch, because she's even being pushed even farther in the background, and I really hope that something like this doesn't continue to move on with her, because you have Team Bad now messing with Sasha, and there's the issue that Sasha and Becky were just sort of feuding the week previous, just 8 days ago, and now they might be a tag team. Um, it's a lot of hoopla. It's a lot of up in the air. You're not helping this whole diva developing a singular identity, but in Becky Lynch, you have somebody who has a single identity, and I don't see any justification for having somebody who's just the sister of the diva who had neck surgery. I don't see any justification in having her get a title shot.
I read this story, and you can take it with a grain of salt, but it was on one of the wrestling news sites, and they were talking about how Brie was going to move into the title picture because WWE wanted to take advantage of the sympathy that exists because Nikki is injured right now, and this is also a way to tie into the season of Total Divas that just started. And with all of that being said, hell fuck no. I sell the entire hell out of this. Every single morsel of it. Everything must go. I'm not even selling it. I'm giving it away if that's the case, because first off, I don't like the fact that Brie Bella even pinned Charlotte, and then to add on all of this other BS where we're trying to use Total Divas as an anchor to pull down good shit that's going on in the Divas division. Not at all. So I'm selling every single bit of this. I don't want to see any of it at all. You can keep the little separate Divas division however you want to do that. All of the mindless BS that goes on with Total Divas and the real stuff going on the other side. And if you maintain that little barrier in between, I'm completely fine with that. But this, gotta go. Selling it. Okay, at this time, we are going to move on to the Kayfabe tier list. Steven, could you give a little summary of what the Kayfabe tier list is, just in case we have any new listeners or viewers that are watching right now?
Well, the kayfabe tier list is basically, it tracks like who cries the most, and Big Show is like at the top because he's always crying. No, but seriously, it's meant to track just sort of the credibility, just the overall like intangible credibility of various wrestlers. Like it's not strict. It doesn't go based on wins and losses. I just want to. When I made it, I wanted to see like, can WWE like make stars in terms, not in popularity terms, but like in the in-universe stars. Like, can they make believable wrestlers? Can they bring someone up to the level of like The Undertaker or Triple H? And sometimes they have, and a lot of times people have floundered. Like when I started it, the Shield was like in B plus, and now most of them, they eventually all got to A, and some of them A plus. But I mean, guys like Wade Barrett just flounder from B plus to C plus, and it's just a mess. And that's why I kind of made this, just because I wanted to see like who the hell. I wanted like a visual representation over time of like how they book these guys, like who actually progresses and stays there versus who just progresses and falls down. And that's sort of what it is.
Without further delay, at this time, we are going to present to you the post-Royal Rumble edition of the Kayfabe tier list. Just to summarize what Steven said, to summarize his summary, the Kayfabe tier list is a visual tracker used to record the mobility of the members of WWE's rosters in terms of credibility and presentation. And talking about credibility and presentation, WWE has one of the most popular wrestlers in the world right now, international superstar in AJ Styles, who just debuted at the Royal Rumble. And we see he also makes his Kayfabe tier list debut here. And you have him listed in the A- tier. Now, you don't know much about AJ's career, do you, Steven?
I know that he was tremendously successful, but no, I wasn't an avid watcher of TNA or any of that stuff. And it doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned with this.
No, here's what I'm saying. Here's why it matters. Because with everything that AJ Styles has done throughout his career outside of WWE, to take advantage of the star that he is, they had to present him in a way that let people who may not know who AJ Styles is, who aren't familiar with everything that he's done in the wrestling industry, they had to present him in a way in which he was a credible member of the roster. And they had to, basically the booking and the presentation had to match up with his accolades and the person that he is known to be all around the world. So with them listing, or you listing him in the A- tier based off of what you saw, would you say that at least his introduction to WWE was successful?
Oh yeah, very much so. They did a good job of presenting this guy as someone who's credible. And very cleverly too. Like if you read the WWE.com article about AJ Styles, it's written with such sophistry that you just have to laugh. It's like it basically just says AJ Styles has wrestled Kurt Angle in Florida or something like that. It doesn't, and then it says he's wrestled CM Punk in various places.
I also saw like they went from like, they mentioned his time in WCW, and then they went from like 2002 to like this decade, and that was very interesting to me. I don't know what AJ was doing all of that time either, but I just know he popped up in New Japan and he was.
They do.
Awesome, so,
I think
yeah.
they do write that he was in Florida wrestling Kurt Angle. They just don't tell you what the hell promotion that was.
They just met in a Walmart parking lot and started wrestling.
They had a backstage altercation somewhere.
Yeah. It's probably like the NXT house shows or something. But yeah, so it's funny how they did that. But yeah, even without mentioning TNA or any promotion really, although I think they probably mentioned some. They probably mentioned New Japan, right?
Yeah.
But even without doing that, they still make him feel like a credible guy because they kind of just rely on the fact that we all know who the fuck AJ Styles is. They don't have to say it. They just have to sort of present it to the people who don't know, and you sort of catch on. And I think it works, even if you don't know what the hell TNA is. It works, because I remember it working on me when I was a kid, when they would bring in like people from WCW. I never watched WCW, but as long as they told me that this guy was a big deal, I bought it. Like when they brought in Goldberg, when they brought in DDP, I could buy it immediately as long as they sort of play it up like they're a big deal. And I think that's sort of what happened here with AJ Styles.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, like, I didn't watch a whole lot of WCW back in the day either, but I don't think even the average viewer needs a whole lot of supplemental material to understand that AJ Styles is a credible force in wrestling. This is one of the few times where I will give the nod to the commentary team for playing up the importance that AJ Styles' presence on a mainstream platform like the WWE television does for him and does for the world of wrestling in general. Not to mention, I wouldn't have necessarily suspected that they were going to go the route of not allowing AJ to talk on WWE TV, but I think The Miz, with what he did on Monday and what they've done in the past 2 weeks with Jericho, they've done very well because he hasn't spoken yet, and it's only building the intrigue for his character more. Because
Well, he has spoken in a backstage interview.
for like 10 or 15 seconds. Nothing of any real depth.
Well, I hope that they're not building anticipation for him to talk, because if that's what's happening, a lot of people are going to be let down. But
I don't buy that criticism though. I don't think he's the world's worst talker.
he's not the world's worst talker, but he's nowhere near the best. I think that in a situation where, like, if I'm given the option of Chris Jericho putting AJ Styles over, or AJ Styles putting AJ Styles over on the mic, I'm gonna take Chris Jericho 10 times over. And I'm not trying to
the problem is
rain on his.
The problem is his accent, and the Southern accent has a lot of stigma against it.
No, it's not the Southern act. Like,
I think
it's
it
a
is.
lot going into that. See, it's just not his strong suit. I think that, but here's a weird situation though, because what you want to talk about phenomenal, what The Miz did on Monday Night Raw, oh my God, that was absolutely amazing. The way that he talked down to AJ Styles, and I think he got to a point where he was doing it so much that even the people who didn't know who AJ Styles was, they were like, hold on, dude. Like, damn, could you give this guy a chance to talk? But like, The Miz did it in a way where he's like, here's all of this stuff that you've done all around the world, but here's why it does not matter here in the WWE. The line about big fish in a small pond, but now you're in an ocean full of sharks. Now, at this point, he needs to be given the opportunity to prove that he actually is a shark. And it's going to be weird because, like, it kind of reminds me of that situation where Paige went out to the ring and she dropped that quote-unquote pipe bomb, and she basically called everybody sluts and, bitches, and talked about how terrible they were, and nobody had a chance to respond and say, hey, I'm not actually that. Some way, somehow, WWE is going to have to book AJ Styles to respond to what The Miz said. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be on the mic. Maybe we need the announce team. That could also be it. They have a match on SmackDown. That could be the way that they use AJ to respond to what The Miz said, but like, they have that narrative out there about him. Now it's all about him taking control of it, whether that be on the mic, whether it be somebody else doing it for him in the ring, who knows, but I guess we'll see.
Well, The Miz, I've always thought The Miz is like the ultimate mid-card, upper mid-card heel, because his ultimate strong suit is putting over a babyface on his way to the main event. That's what he does the best. Like, if you need to get over as a face and you're about to transition into the main event, you feud with The Miz, and he gets the job done, usually.
It's as funny as it may sound. Daniel Bryan, Alex Riley, he didn't end up going anywhere, but The Miz, he did a good job with him. He did what he could. He handled his part.
Yeah, The Miz is great in
Sandow,
that role.
And I'm pissed off that they didn't follow up with that storyline with Neville. I wanted to see where that was going to go, but hey, I don't know.
Well, he's trying to deal with AJ now. But do you have any other questions about the?
Yeah, I do have one. We talked previously about the credibility deficit that the WWE World Heavyweight Championship was experiencing, and one of your key factors that played into building the credibility of the championship up once again was providing Roman Reigns with credible contenders for the title. And we were looking at that top tier because I remember Sheamus, he was the WWE World Heavyweight Champion listed in the B+ tier with the damn championship. So one of the things that you said needed to happen from this point on when Roman Reigns won the title was making sure that we had people from that top row challenging him. And I'm looking, and hell, almost half the row is injured there. But like, we actually have Triple H as a champion now. So what did this do to the credibility of the title?
Well, I think it first of all, it did a lot last week, but this week I feel like it didn't, and that's because they had the title sitting in a case, which just made it look like it's vacated. Like, I need to feel that Triple H is actually the champion, and not just. I don't want it to be a situation where like Triple H is holding it hostage. I want it to feel like he's actually the champion, which last week it did when he came out with it. This week it was just sitting there.
That's the issue I think you run into when you have to kind of mentally check out and realize there's a divide between Triple H, the CEO, or COO, it's not CEO, Triple H, the COO, and Triple H, the wrestler. I think for the majority of the time that Triple H is going to be holding that title, it's going to be sitting in that case. And that's the problem, because we're supposed to just forget the fact that he's also got other responsibility as far as running the show. And just look at how little he was featured on Monday night. He was featured in one backstage segment with Brock Lesnar, and that was it. And Triple H, Stephanie McMahon was seen longer with the title than Triple H was. So it's
Stephanie for champ. Let's do it.
Well, I actually don't think this will be like a running problem. I think this is just because right now Fastlane is focused on the other three, so they're just stepping it back with Triple H, which I think is fine. As long as, like, after Fastlane he starts wearing it again, which I think he will. And it's fine that he's the COO. In fact, I think that makes it better. I think it's awesome that he's the COO and the champion, because that makes him just like the ultimate heel, where he just has all this power and you need to put an end to him. And I think it's about time that the authority angle ends for now, and I hope that this match with Triple H will be the end of it, but we'll see.
And I also like to take a little bit of time to brag, as I proposed a storyline going into Survivor Series that is very reminiscent of what's going on with Triple H in the championship right now. I don't even know if anybody remembers it, but basically I was talking about how I think Triple H should attack Roman Reigns and basically commandeer the title and tell the whole roster to step it up and, you know, basically get somebody to take the championship from him.
Oh yeah, I guess that is what's happening.
See, everybody thought I was crazy back then, but I mean, if you look at TV, I'm not too crazy, or maybe I am, and shit, the creative team is crazy too. Who knows? But I was going to say the one thing that I do know is that me and the creative team were on the same page, but I don't want to say that. So scratch that. Yeah, I don't want to say that at all. But anything else on the Kayfabe tier list?
Well, I was gonna say, isn't it a shame how, like, the three people in the F tier, which, by the way, is the tier that just means you're not even on the show. It doesn't even mean you're a jobber, because that's the D tier. If you're a jobber, then I put you in D automatically. But, like, F is just for people who aren't even on the show, and they're, like, the three guys that got over. I mean, Fandango not so much, but still, he had a brief run of popularity for, like, a week. And it just sucks, like, when you get over and you don't go anywhere. It just sends a message to the whole roster, like, it doesn't matter what you do, almost.
This business is so political, but if that's the criteria by which you define the D and F tier, Ziggler should be a lot lower.
Why is that?
Because Ziggler's a punk.
Hey, Ziggler's not a jobber. He wins often enough. He just beat Kevin Owens.
I can't believe that at all. Like, he didn't even get his ass whooped after.
How do you lose to somebody who was kayfabe injured after the Royal Rumble, lose cleanly, and then win the next week when the guy is fully recovered?
I don't know.
Because WWE.
Because wrestling.
No, because WWE. This shit doesn't happen anywhere else. Okay, that's it for the Kayfabe tier list. And before we head off air, I do have one more thing for you guys. This is going to be the Swerve, where I take one story out of the wrestling universe, and I turn face, and that story gets praise from me, or I turn heel, and it releases a fiery, burning rage. I am actually going to turn heel this week. And I am turning heel. I was going to turn heel on Evan for getting me involved in that Eric Rowan trolling on Twitter. But since he's not here, I'm going to turn heel on Dalton. That's right.
Gee, I can't imagine why.
You know why. Remember yesterday we were talking and you revealed some very disturbing information?
Oh, is this about certain candy that I happen to like?
Yes. I found out that Dalton likes banana-flavored Laffy Taffies.
See, you shouldn't have said that, because everyone in the chat's going to run a field day with this.
Is this
Here's
worse
the thing.
than my crimes against Xavier?
Yes, this is much worse, because I actually think that people who, there should be some type of purchase tracker where people who buy banana-flavored Laffy Taffies, that they go on, the terrorist watch list or something like that. Because I do not trust people who like banana flavored Laffy Taffies. Because banana flavoring is the most terrible thing in the whole fucking world. And Dalton, like, my opinion of you is greatly affected, and I don't know how you're gonna repair this. So yeah, I'm turning heel on you.
I can only hope that the quality of my friendship with you pulls me around, because
What friendship? What
Damn.
friendship?
Damn.
It's that serious.
Can we just go back to Nickelback now?
You know what? You listen to some Nickelback songs, and maybe I'll maybe you'll get back in my good graces.
Hey, Nickelback was the intro to Raw for a while.
Yeah, I bet those are some glorious years for you, Dalton, right?
Oh man, just the golden age of wrestling intros.
Alrighty, guys, that's it for this episode of PWF Empire Live. As always, thanks for being here, Steven and Dalton. You completed an episode. You're here until the end.
Yeah, sure.
All right, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back next week, same place, same time, pwfempire.com, Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Until then, peace out.